All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the August 26th workshop of the Board of County Commissioners. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up on our agenda is an update from Danny Margoles on the Mancos Conservation District. Come on down, Danny. Pull that mic as close as you can get it and take it away.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here today.
It's not on.
Yeah, push the, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. Thanks for having me here today. Just here to give a quick update on a lot of the activities of the Mancos Conservation District. I feel like we've been in full field season mode, but also doing a lot of planning and grant writing as well. So breaking it down to some of our program areas for watershed management, we have completed a draft of the stream management plan, which I believe has been talked about here before. The goal of the stream management plan is to develop a community plan, and that is science-based, that is informed by like all interests of the community to identify projects and priorities for management of the Mancos River watershed. We've had quite a number of community meetings around that draft plan. Once it came out, got a lot of good feedback, started to identify a way to prioritize projects from it, and are going to be coming out with another draft in the fall, and then really finishing it up early next year. So if anyone wants to be involved, happy to facilitate that. We have a large Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart grant that we've received, and it is going slower than we anticipated for the contracting phase, I would say. But hopefully getting that done. It's going to be involving upgrading 3 different diversion structures, doing smart metering on 10 different diversions, and there's like a suite of different forestry activities involved with that as well. So excited to get that underway, but it's inching, I would say, and at present, but I think is beginning to pick up. Continuing water quality monitoring, expanding eDNA, so environmental DNA surveys to understand the benefit of some of the diversion upgrades that have been completed really last year. We won't be doing the eDNA, I think, until next year, but the idea is to understand when we are upgrading these diversions, is it facilitating better fish passage as well, and assisting with that movement. Going to be working with Southwestern Water Conservation District on ideally some funding priorities. There's a big bucket of money that Southwestern is coordinating, which you all may have heard about before, but they are talking with a number of different entities in the area and are trying to, I appreciate their approach with it, but trying to kind of pool projects into a number of different buckets and put in one large application for Southwest Colorado instead of each entity putting in separately. And
How do you divide that bucket if you are awarded? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Are you guys all playing the playground together nice, or?
How many holes does that bucket have in it?
Those are
That's
all
always
excellent questions.
A little concerning whenever you say that. I mean, it makes sense, but.
Yeah. So we're not leading it, and so I don't know how it's going to look on the ground, and I think that they are honestly still figuring that out. And I think what is probably going to happen is they're going to do sub-awards to different entities for their own individual projects. And so there's going to be one large proposal with like a number of sub-awards given for each individual entity to implement. Yeah. So I think that the buckets are in the sense of like there's going to be probably a Phreatophyte bucket where a number of different entities are trying to do Phreatophyte removal in different parts of Southwest Colorado. And so, there's Yeah, I don't know. Those are excellent questions. I have those same questions myself as we're going forward with it. We're still in like the project identification and like clarification phase of it. It's due, I think, in early October. And yeah, I mean, those are the same questions I have, is what I'd say.
Just curious.
No, I know.
mean, it sounds like a great concept, but in reality, everybody needs the funding that they need individually for their specific project, so.
And you worry about like weak links and whether when everyone's maybe tied together within a specific project, if there can be issues or challenges with some funding of it, whether that jeopardizes funding for all of it too. So, yeah. And knowing that this is a BOR grant, there's going to be a lot of NEPA that's required for it. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of, there's going to be a lot of tape and ideally a lot of funding for good work associated with it, but it's not necessarily going to be the easiest. So, for state funding, we are still working with the county. I just checked in with James on this, and we're going to be putting forward, so we had a wildfire ready watersheds proposal for some implementation, working with James and Robert. Decided to scale back some of it because some of the challenges around like kind of West Grand Avenue work that we were originally thinking is just going to be really hard with CDOT, and it probably timelines weren't going to work together, but are going to be doing a proposal for upgrading the culvert on Road L that is very undersized and has chronic issues associated with that, and maybe wrap that into a slightly larger proposal, or it might be somewhat different for the Mancos Conservation District that's going to do some more modeling work in order to really access more state funds and federal funds in the future. And for forestry work, we have we're in the contracting phase for a second round of Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program funding. That's DNR funding. We first got one round of it in 2022. Another round of it came out, earlier this year, and applied for it and were awarded it. Each one was $1 million in forestry work, spread out to a number of different partners, mainly between the Conservation District and Wildfire Adaptive Partnership for work around houses, and then the Mancos Conservation District for private lands forestry work outside of the defensible space zone. We have, as of this summer, one project that we just recently finished, 3 projects that are currently awarded. Some are underway, some are going to be upcoming very soon. 6 at different stages of forest planning, some that are near complete. 2 of them that are near complete that ideally will have RFPs going out for that work in really a month or 2. 4 others that we'll ideally have a forest plan developed out of this and then have RFPs go out probably this winter. And are in the beginning phases of supporting some pile burning, where there are a lot of piles on some larger properties throughout the county that we want to help remove the risk that are associated with those, as well as planning cross boundaries, so working with the Forest Service and other partners to do broadcast burning both on federal lands but also private lands too. And we have some money through COSWAP, or the Colorado Strategic Wildfire Action Program, for that too. And that'll ideally be through what's called a TREX, or Prescribed Fire Training Exchange, that supports folks getting their red cards in the process. And so you can get your red card and do work on private lands and get experience doing it. And often it's folks who come in from around the country to do it, and then they'll have their certifications and can go and get other employment. But ideally, we can have some local folks, and we'll be communicating with Public Community College with their new program around that as well.
So I have a lot of questions
Yeah.
on that, because I was at a meeting Wednesday for prescribed fire burning or broadcast burning. And 2 of the biggest issues that came up, one is liability.
Yep.
So where are you getting the training, and then how are they going to carry the insurances for the liability when you start doing broadcast burning?
Yep.
On private? I mean,
You're spot on.
Who's
No,
going to take that risk?
It's the Nature Conservancy. And so the Nature Conservancy runs these trainings, and they carry adequate liability insurance, and they specialize in this. And so.
And then the
Oh.
definition of a pile, because that came up too. What's the definition of a pile?
Yep.
Is it 5,000 yards? How big is the pile? I mean, is it a dump truck pile? Because and this was a meeting of a lot of counties Wednesday.
No,
It's
that's
like,
also a very
who
good question.
describes that? Where's the definitions of a pile?
I don't know if I have a strict definition for you, but that's a good question. For pile burning, there are, I feel like you guys know this probably better than me, but there are different, burn boss designations and certifications, and there are some local folks. So we're doing the pile burning and the broadcast burning differently and separately. I mean, maybe with the Prescribed Fire Training Exchange, they do burn some piles too, but we have some separate money for pile burning. And the idea, so maybe going back to like the intent of trying to get some funding for that was, we know a lot of people want to do their own work, and we want to facilitate people, using their own chainsaws, using their own laborers to do their own wildfire mitigation. But as you're kind of alluding to and saying directly, disposing of the piles can be challenging, and it can be costly, either like high liability for a landowner or challenging to get a contractor to do the work, because there has to be contractors with a certain certifications in order to do so.
Correct, and that's where all of the questions came up. If it's a private landowner burning his own pile, I mean, he's responsible for that. But when you start bringing outside agencies into it, then they have to have minimum requirements. And then is there reciprocity from states, from Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, from other groups? Because right now we don't have the resources specifically at all. And I mean, it was a 4-hour conversation.
Yeah, no, I believe it. And in
and-
collaborative forest work, that's been like a topic of conversation for a long time now, is trying to understand, like, we all know we need to use more fire to some degree because it's by far the most cost-effective way of reducing wildfire risk, but also no one wants to do it because the liability is so high, and sometimes the burn windows are so short that
The ghost of Los Alamos.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, that's-
exactly.
It's there.
Exactly.
It's-
I mean, it's
I know. I feel like that the Hermit Peak fire was like started by two different prescribed fires, like
Merging.
separately. Yeah, one that was a holdover from the year before, and one that was an active one. So it is a real concern, and there are some local contractors that do have the appropriate insurance for pile burning and do that. And I don't know about like the definition of piles. I know one of the areas that we were looking at, there was a concern because some piles were like small and manageable. Some are just like as large as this room at times.
At TN 145, we have a pile. That's my consideration of a pile.
Okay.
100,000 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a dump truck load, that's not really a pile. So, but that's just one piece of it. That's pile burning. When
Yep.
we started talking about broadcast burning, that's a totally different. I mean, you get a wind shift and you have 5 acres on fire, and the windows are just too short for people that really don't do that all the time. I still think it should just be left to the federal partners. And I don't know. I think we're getting ready to step into something we're going to create a mess.
I totally hear what you're saying, and I guess maybe our thinking is to go in it as like appropriately as possible, and we're going to be so for the treks that the San Juan National Forest and the BLM will be like core partners to it, and the Nature Conservancy will also be a core partner to it, and they have their own financial relationships together. And one of the goals that we had was to really bring in some money to support it on private lands, and it'll be really a jointly held activity with the federal partners being the lead on federal lands, the Nature Conservancy being the lead on private lands, but both supporting each other on all lands. And so the goal is to like really demonstrate, like, let's literally burn across boundaries if we can, on like a parcel here and a parcel here on both the federal and the private side. And it's hard, and it takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of like bureaucracy, and I mean, and really like working through the risk. So, you know, I think one of my expectations for myself is working really closely with the county emergency manager on this too, but I don't know.
All right, I
No.
didn't mean to derail that. That
No,
was
no,
just
no,
a-
I think you're asking
That was
great-
just a Wednesday meeting that I had to go to, and it's like, I'm, you know, I really struggle. I struggle with broadcast burning specifically because that is so,
It's unpredictable.
it is unpredictable, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get yourself in trouble in a hurry.
No, you're exactly right. And the way that we also wrote this was there are a lot of different possible locations, both in Montezuma County, but as well as probably La Plata and Archuleta counties, depending on what the individual conditions are like when we're planning to hold the
Yeah.
training.
And the other thing too is
Yeah.
resources. You
Yep.
know, if I have a pile of that magnitude to burn, and I get Rob and I say, hey, bring me 3 dozers and we're going to circle this thing and do, I mean, that's totally different.
Yep.
But that's a resource that we have when you talk to the average person out there that has no resources at all and they just start broadcast burning.
No, I totally agree with
That
that.
is-
That is scary.
That is, it is,
And on public lands, there's a hesitancy to bring in the dozers, you know, and the scrapers that need to be there.
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
I'll stop.
No,
I
I hear you.
digress.
So this isn't happening imminently. Don't worry. I'll be coming back. Like, this is probably 2026 that we're like planning this out. And so there's time for like much more conversation about this. So probably the pile burning hopefully earlier than that. And the pile burning is generally when there's a little bit of snow on the ground. Not too much snow, but a little bit of snow on the ground. So, but yeah, the broadcast burning is going to be a very long planning effort, and we will absolutely bring in the county and bring in everyone. So,
All right.
okay. No, thank you for your
Sorry.
questions. No.
Thanks.
I think, you know, I need to hear these concerns and feedback too. So, last thing for forestry. So we just actually purchased our first truck. We are going to be putting a flatbed on it, and we got it through a State Forest Service grant to assist with some of the chipping operations that the district is doing. And we've been working really closely with our board of supervisors and talking with a lot of other like local small contractors about who do chipping in order to like make sure we fill in a needed gap, while also really not, and like working really hard to not compete with local resources, and try to make sure that like local contractors really aren't going to be doing any of the work before we do any of it ourselves. And so we're trying to support removing biomass and dealing with it, while also supporting the local economy and also just fitting in where we can. Does someone have a question? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, please go.
As Adaptive Fire, do they have their own chipper now? I seen something come across where you could reserve that and bring it out onto your property and use that chipper, or do you know?
They don't have their own chipper. That might be our chipper
Okay.
that they're referring to. And so one of the reasons that we're doing this, we now have a new staff member, a forestry tech, and our chipper has been having a lot of mechanical issues, and I think what we're trying to do is just make sure that one of our own staff people are the ones that are like mainly running it, and we'll have landowners help support us, but our staff people will be like the ones like really running it in order to make sure it's like fully operational, because yeah, it's easy to have them go wonky fast. And yeah, there are a couple out there. There are a couple like rental agencies here that has them. The BLM has one, but it can be challenging to kind of get your hands on it. But the Mancos Conservation District rents it out to landowners too.
Okay.
And yeah, we've been working closely with them on that. Our soil health program, so right now we have 19 producers enrolled, over 1,500 acres, and its program is aimed at really providing technical and financial support for innovative soil health practices for different producers. This year we've spent a bunch of time putting in soil moisture sensors and taking soil samples, really in the beginning phases of participation in the program. They'll be participating for the next few years, and we'll be able to like read and better understand kind of what the outcomes of those practices are for soil moisture, as well as soil health in general from the samples being taken. Yeah, excited that there's like some quantitative outcomes associated with this program too right now that we'll be able to start thinking about and be able to start reporting on. And we've really just been holding a huge amount of events also throughout the summer. Everything from introduction and background on Colorado water law to a smart metering tour for producers, stream management plan, learning networks. So other folks who are doing stream management plans came down here to look at our planning process, to look at some of the projects that we identified. The Conservation District has been really seen as kind of an innovative approach for stream management planning for the state. We held a large outreach event, the Mancos Splash at Boyle Park in Mancos, aimed really at like younger folks and getting them connected with natural resources, wildfire mitigation workshop, as well as, maybe you read about it, but also a mineral exploration conversations within the town, just to talk about the mineral exploration that's being planned up on the East Mancos River in that watershed, and had metallic minerals as well as other kind of agency folks be able to present, and the community to ask a bunch of questions, and just really tried to facilitate that dialogue. As an outcome of that, we did hear a desire for more kind of proactive information for the community, and we've just been hosting information on our website for how folks can be able to access information from the different agencies. There are a lot of cooks in that kitchen from the state and federal agencies, and being able to like try to just make it clear for community members around like what information is out there and how to get informed on, for instance, NEPA process or substitute water supply plans, things like that. And then we've been partnering with CSU Extension to streamline efforts around, I don't know, maybe streamline isn't the right word, but to like build better kind of understanding of technical and financial resources that are out there, and facilitate different entities kind of in our positions, like the NRCS, CSU, Mancos Conservation District, High Desert Conservation District, nonprofits, of how we provide information and then pass people along to others and know what other agencies and folks are doing, so we can really help producers and help landowners in the areas that we're able to, but also not just like give them a dead end, but be able to effectively pass people along for other resources. And we have a little bit of financial support to kind of piece this together, and we're in an initial phase and are going to be working with the county and James. And it sounds like it's great that there's the weeds department is kind of back up and running, and want to just like chat with all of you, and really more to come on that. We've just like been sketching out a goal for that, and want to put on your radars earlier than later. So I don't know, that's That's about it. We have our workforce housing is complete. That's next to the Mancos Conservation District. There are 2 units. One unit is filled with, so 2 units, 4 bedrooms each. One unit has AmeriCorps members working within the area. That there are 3 of them in there right now. There's going to be probably 1 more that's going to be starting to live in there in September, and we're still kind of working to fill that other unit, which I don't know. Hopefully that'll be sooner than later.
Very good.
Yeah.
Question? Okay. I asked all mine.
Well, thank you for your great questions. Really, don't ever hesitate to express concern or questions, and we'll be, I'm hearing, ample questions around like broadcast burning in particular, and I'll be presenting and talking more with you all about that. So, cool.
All right. Thank
Thanks
you,
all.
Danny. All right. Very good.
Thank you, Danny.
All right. Rob, you're next. Come on down. All right, Rob.
Okay, so why don't you start, because I really don't know where I fit in with this one.
Well, I'll start with this. So this has been several months worth of research and conversation and discussion, but basically, if you go all the way down to the bottom, there was an email that came from an Amy Lewis quite a while ago. A couple of years ago, we approved a subdivision, and I'm trying to think of the name of the subdivision. It was Lake Meadows or something like that, and one of the issues that came up was the intersection at 25 and 184. And basically, she's asking is, why do we pay impact fees, and why is one property owner pushed to pay the lane upgrades instead of using all of the impact fees? So then that asks the question of impact fees. And in 2011, if you go all through those emails, which is great because Commissioner Copenhaver sits to the left of me, who made that, basically, because we'd all heard about the 5-mile rule of what the planning was around the 5-mile rule to use the impact fees. And at that time, they said this same intersection was talked about. Dean Roundtree brought it forward to the commissioners in 2011 because it was already an intersection already having difficulties at that point in time, and it's been put off until now again when CDOT is saying do not put any more development out there because it just can't handle 184 can't handle the traffic that we're putting on it at that intersection because of the intersection. So conversations with last time CDOT when they were in here, Julie was in here, Allison was in here, Kevin was in here, and basically this whole thing has been taking place, but she gave us some high some cost basically associated that with that intersection of what it might cost to put this intersection together. Now there's a lot of other things in there that she talks about as far as realignment, and that's just a conversation that we need to have because as she says in there, that's a county decision because it is a county road, not CDOT. CDOT's would just have to be designed for that intersection. So looking at it, and this again is a high-level view of what the cost might be, basically $840,000. I think that might be overshooting it a little bit, but it would be something to budget with. So if we look at the impact fees, that's a major thoroughfare, 25, and it has been, and it obviously it was in 2011 when it was first identified by Dean Roundtree that it needed to be fixed. We have enough money, so in there, my thought is take the money that we need to have to get it engineered right now. Get something engineered hopefully by February, maybe March. I don't know. Is that realistic, Rob? Do you think?
I don't know, keep talking.
I'm just 4 or 5 months, and then be able to work with CDOT to get it, have the money allocated so that if they can get it on a project list for next year or the following year, then we get that intersection taken care of.
They get it on their project list or us?
Well, we can do it either way. We can work with them, and or we can just do it as our project list.
Why
But
can't they just do it? It's their highway. I'm just asking.
I understand that. But as you look at the traffic code, go down to the
Oh, I
email.
saw, I read it, yeah, but
So-
I've got a lot of examples where we didn't follow that either, so.
Well, just because something
No,
was done
I'm saying
at
precedence
some
on
point
these
in
things
time,
will
it doesn't
play a
mean
factor.
we're the ones that keep, we control land use. And if we keep putting more on those roads that go onto the highways, we're the ones that are impacting it. So as it was in 2011, at that point in time, it was already impacted to the point of they're like, hey, you guys need to do something with this, and we've never done nothing with it. So we can't just keep ignoring it. We charge
Wow.
impact fees for a reason, and the impact fees are there. And even in 2011, it said within a 10-mile radius. So first of all, it was talked about the 5, and during the major thoroughfares, use a 10-mile radius. But that can be changed at any point in time. So the conversation is a major thoroughfare that has a horrible approach to the highway.
Well, wait, the approach is fine. It's the left turn, right turn, acceleration, deceleration.
Correct.
Lettings that are not there to help that.
So the
approach
approach-
is fine, though.
the
It comes 90
approach-
degrees to the road and,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
you could use a
talking-
little asphalt in
I'm
it to
talking
get
the
the
approach with the
potholes
traffic
out
that
of it.
we've
Yeah.
put on it.
okay.
Um,
Just as long as we know we're talking about building a highway system for a CDOT here, not our road. Our road's fine, so,
I understand.
okay.
So go to the statute,
Yeah, I read it.
Travis, if you can pull it
Yeah.
up. Because it basically says that it is our responsibility that the local roads that connect to the highway system, which 25 connects to 184, vehicular use and operation of local roads where they connect to the access, a state highway is the responsibility of the appropriate local authority, which is us.
Yeah.
It's been identified since 2011, when Dean Roundtree brought it to us, or to the commissioners at that point in time, and that's where they said, use these funds to a 5-mile radius, and if it takes more, go to a 10-mile radius.
Did we do it? I
Well,
wasn't here.
I think right now, what we've been using is a 5-mile radius for improvements around anywhere for impact fees,
No, I mean,
correct?
there was nothing never done with that ruling in 2011.
No.
I didn't think
Well,
there
no,
was.
because it's still, that intersection is still the same as it was,
Well, I
right?
didn't know, maybe they realigned it a little better in 2011 or something. I didn't know what Dean might have did. That was 3 years before I got here, so.
No. So it's still the same as it
Okay,
was.
all right.
So identified then, sits the same today. I'm just saying, I think we're beyond time to get this thing fixed.
So my thoughts on that is, I agree with you on everything you just said. You're correct. But there was also a project on Road P and 145, when I got here in 2014 ongoing, just started, where there was a cost share with CDOT to fix that intersection. We paid 36% and they paid 64%. And it ended up costing the county $86,000 plus or minus a few bucks there, and then we got some change orders and got it down to $75,000. Why don't we do that here?
I'm not saying we can't do that
Well, I
here. I'm
mean,
just saying,
I just don't think we should take $1 million out of reserves.
I think
and
that
go
if
fix
you
this.
look at, well, it wouldn't be, I'm not even saying out of reserves, I'm saying take it out of the impact fees.
Well, I was told to pull it out of my reserves and put it in my budget.
Okay, well, we can take it out of impact fees,
Impact fees, reserves. If we got
whatever
the
you
money
want to call
available.
Well, impact fees are not reserves. Reserves are reserves.
it. Okay, impact fees.
Right, okay.
And that's specifically what the letter, when this
Well, I-
first came out, was like, why are we paying impact fees for roads that are impacting
Let me explain.
something?
The impact fees pay for
So-
all the roads they use beyond their
understand that.
driveway.
I understand
And
that.
we've got a lot of work on Lebanon Road to do in the next 10 years to keep up with this growth. I really feel you're right, 100%. This is
Mm-hmm.
going to be a major thoroughfare. When do we put our turn lanes in for Road 26 and 27 and so forth and so on down the line due to this growth? If we give them $1 million to do this, where's our money at the end to do that?
So I think if you look at Allison's email, what she says is that This has already been triggered for a long time. So the need for these, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is we work with them. It doesn't say that we have to, we should get it engineered as soon as possible, because as soon as we have the engineering done, if they can put it out, then they can put it out, work with CDOT to get it on the schedule, and then move this project forward, because 25 is a major thoroughfare for everybody in this community. It's not a good intersection, and we have definitely been the ones that impact it, and it was brought to the attention of us back in 2011.
Well, I think you're right about that. I mean, engineering a simple design would be easy if we buy a little bit of land, if we can get it, and reroute that road into that Heritage Center. You
Well,
got
I
a
don't
perfect
even-
intersection right there.
Yeah, I'm not,
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
engineering, you asked me how long, well, I don't know, Commissioners. Engineering for that would be pretty simple. Engineering for a major change in CDOT's alignment could be hair-raising for me, and I, quite frankly, am not interested in getting involved in it. I'll have to hire an engineering firm and let them do it.
Sure, sure.
And it's gonna be extremely expensive, so. We saw that with the bridge down at Alkali Creek. So it can get quite expensive.
so basically, that's the information that was brought
Okay.
forward. Those are the questions that the constituency have asked, and the best way to answer is like, here's what we've come up with. So that's kind of where it all, there's all the emails that have went back and forth.
So another question I got then is, you've got your impact fees, that helps pay for it if it doesn't get used on road maintenance and other sections of the road like I just explained. Why isn't general funds involved in this? Because you're improving the infrastructure, not just a road, but you're expanding the ability to grow, which brings in more tax revenues, which brings in more housing projects, which brings in jobs, brings in all kinds of stuff. I'm good, but why is the road department gonna be settled with the whole bill, split or not with CDOT? Why isn't general funds?
Well, if we use impact fees, that's not coming
Well, I
out of
mean,
anything
I
out
don't
of,
think there's
out of
enough
the
impact
road.
fees to do this down through there. I mean, there's.
Well, let's
There's a
let's
lot,
get it
but-
engineered and let's figure it
Yeah.
out and let's find out. I'm
Well,
just
okay,
saying,
I mean, there's a difference.
even as a high level cost from CDOT right now, she was at
Yeah,
840,000.
it's probably high. but-
So
yeah.
I'm just saying, there's at least something to start working with. I don't know if it's gonna be plus or minus. I think she's probably a little bit on the plus side, but maybe not.
Yeah, maybe.
Um,
I don't know.
And here again, that road for us, if we look at any development on that road at all, it eventually will get to that intersection.
Well, the
So-
intersection has to be dealt with to get them to let us bring more cars in.
Mhm.
I'm not denying that. That's, who pays for it is kind of my question. My question is if everybody from Highway P and 145 to Road PB, that they said we had to close it, we dug our heels in a little bit, we said we're not gonna close that road. They painted some stripes, put some signs up, and everybody's pretty happy out there now. We did not close BB. Sometimes you hear these things, then you go, wait a minute, hold up here a second. And you get a different story too. Road M, the cell barn, I know that wasn't easy for those people out there to get those turn lanes in because they just rebuilt Road M intersection with 491. And I'm not positive this, but I think I've heard where the owners of the cell barn had to pay for the restriping of that section. I may be wrong, but it seems like that's what they had to do. Kinder Morgan had to pay for all the rework at Road CC. Private industry takes care of these things with CDOT in the time I've been here. And we're kind of diving into that realm of world again, somewhat. So
Well,
I
actually,
just wanna be cautious.
I would disagree, Rob, to
Well, I
a
just
little
gave
bit
you
of
all
an
these
extent.
points that's happened
So
that
down
way.
on 21,
21?
when I first started here, we closed that intersection with CDOT because of its alignment. I mean, it was
We
basically
made a
at
deal to get Road
Correct.
B paved,
And then we had to work our
tail ends,
tail ends off to get any kind of an agreement to get B paved.
with the landowners.
Which
So
are,
we had to
yeah.
make,
So
they
there
were
was a
okay,
lot
right.
of, so I'm saying, let's work with CDOT. Let's at least put some money forth to get this thing looked at
I
and
like
taken
that better
care
than
of.
being told to put
And-
$800,000 in my budget to rebuild this intersection.
Well, I'm not saying that it will or won't take that. I'm just saying that I think that's a little on the plus side, and I could be wrong, but
Well,
if we don't start with at least the engineering to get it done, because if you look at the emails, I even asked if there was any way that they could do the engineering. And she said they just right now don't have the capacity at all. So,
So what's the direction you want to go in? Do you want to go with property acquirement to make it easy, or do you want to do a complete realignment of a narrow chunk of 184?
I think
What
that's.
road would you
I
want to
think
take as
that's-
far as
I think that's
engineering?
where we have to hire the engineer and say, what's the best solution?
Jimmy, I'm not an engineer, and I can tell you the easiest way to get there is through that intersection there with that Heritage Center.
Yeah.
We just got to buy an acre and a half of land. While we're at it, let's buy 10, let's put a new shop up there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? It won't take that much even.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on our GIS map and you open that up and measure it, it's 1.47
I think-
acres of
I think
possible.
CDOT owns that, most of that
No,
triangle there,
no.
right?
They
Wait.
do own
Can
some
you
of it.
pull it up, Travis? The GIS map, so he can show what he's talking about?
So there's basically what you're looking at, we'd have to buy that. The CDOT has the right of way, they do have the right of way.
Well, you guys, Rob Dobry, is there any state funding for grants for engineering for something like this that we could tap? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Then you come right in.
yeah,
That makes the most sense. Then you've got two of them at the same spot.
that would be the best way. Because that's what we did, where you come over the hill off of Narragansett Dam, right to that 23 road. That's why we rerouted that thing, because you come over that hill and that intersection, even though that was a T intersection, it was just bad because you come over that hill. We had to work with them.
So-
and-
It worked out pretty good too, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was an excellent example of working with CDOT to get something improved.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's where I'm at, is this conversation has gone on a long time, and it's time that we start doing something to get it
Jimmy,
resolved.
I'm okay with this,
So-
it's just the approach of this whole thing was like, what am I even doing here? So-
Thing of it is, they should have fixed this, CDOT should have fixed this when they redone that deal in entrance into that Heritage Center. They should have fixed this.
Right. And the
They could've
impacts on
fixed
that
this.
road are not just ours. I mean, you look at the feds and the state, it's a major cut through when you go to Telluride anymore. I mean, anybody from 491 cutting across, going to Telluride, and even going to Durango, they cut through there.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Heritage Center, when they opened up, created quite a few impacts, so it's not just our impact from our residents.
And I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
now it's
saying that
become
at
a
all.
major
I'm saying
truck
that
cut
we
through.
have, 184 is 100% theirs, and they're not asking us. It's to get the traffic off and onto 184 safely, onto 184 because of the traffic there and the traffic that we've added on 25. So again,
I
the
personally think
whole
it's,
question came to us. You saw it, you guys have all read it, I've shared it with everybody up here.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we gonna do? And are we just gonna shut everything off at 25 road now and not do anything at all? I'm not
I
sure
think there's
that's
some
the.
people that will say, why isn't the private industry taking care of this like it's always, or has been in the past a lot, and I don't
That's
agree with
why
that either.
impact fees are paid. That
I-
is private industry taking care
They
of
pay
it.
a minimal amount for impact fees to take care of Road 25 and all the
Well,
other
then
roads
maybe
they
we
use
need to look at our impact fees.
Well,
I
there's a
mean,
lot of them
that's-
out there. I mean,
that's
it's not
not-
that it's a high amount per customer or per
Mm-hmm.
individual, it's just a lot of individuals that have paid into it. And we're using those now. We've paved that road, what was it, 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
We saw the need then. This road is getting busy. This road is a major thoroughfare.
So,
But now I need more. I need more maintenance on it. I need more turn lanes,
so
more
you
shouldering.
want the direction of where to head? I think what I would like to see, and I'm one of three, I'm just saying, I think that we should look at it, see if we can hire an engineer and see what's the best to do and what then we have to do to work with CDOT to move it forward.
Well, yeah, I can. I guess I'm a little, I don't know which way to go here with the engineering as far as the scope of work. I have to have a scope of work to give them, other than a picture and say, you figure it out. I guess I can do that. Which way would be the easiest way to go? Is that what you're saying? As far as the first step of engineering?
First step, we need to talk to that landowner, see if they're even
Totally agree?
Yeah, and if they're not,
conducive to us even
That's a good
talking
point.
about doing that.
So then we'd be back to the
then
other
we've got
one.
to be back to there. So I think we
That's a
start
good
at
point.
square one and go from there.
Yeah.
So have that
I haven't seen a for
conversation.
sale sign on that corner yet, but it's probably coming. So.
No.
Well, I'm sure after today, the price just went up, if there is a price.
Well.
I think so too. So that old horse is now a racehorse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we have to have it. Does it make the most sense? Yeah, I would agree.
So,
So-
okay, that was good. We needed to visit because I just saw this last week. This is the first time I've seen any of this. When I was asked to put money in to fix the intersection, it's because I thought we had potholes. I had no idea this was floating around up there. So,
And until I got all of the research done that I was trying to figure out, I had nothing to present to anybody.
I
Now do.
knew through the meetings with the planning department that people were being told that if they want to develop, that they had to go through CDOT to get their blessing to tell them what they needed and they didn't need, but I had no idea we'd got to this point yet. So anyway, I will start with what Gerald says, and I'll find out the landowner's name and go talk to him and see what a little bit of land over there would cost us.
And then also see which engineering firm could do it.
I think you put it out for bid. I think you get a proposal put together, because it's certainly gonna be over 50,000. And
Oh,
we
yeah.
reach out and we go sealed bid, just like we did with the bridge, and see who can step up and partake in this. And I'll run down through there and see what we got for, impact fees that are not already obligated for, and we'll go from there, so.
Yeah, and you have a 10-mile radius. And we can
And
change
you
that to
just
whatever.
changed it to a 10-mile radius.
No, it was on there.
It's 5.
That was
Well,
most
I
of
don't
it. No,
know.
it's not.
My rules are 5.
Go down, Travis, to that email. I have that in there also, Rob.
Did you guys increase it from 5 to 10 for this?
It's 10, it
particular?
was 10 in 2011. It
Oh.
started as 5, and it says if you needed it, you could go to a 10-mile radius.
Okay.
It was in there. It's been there since 2011.
Well, I wasn't here in 2011, so I don't know. I've been
Neither
working
was
with-
I, but I
I've been
did a
working
lot of
with 5.
research.
I've been working with 5 since I've
Yep.
been here, so.
And that's in there, but the 10 is also there.
Okay.
So if you go through that email, the whole point of it, and Commissioner, you may remember it, I don't know, that was a long time ago. But that's what was done in 2011. And we can still use that same guideline.
Okay.
But it's in that whole, everybody should have the entire thread.
I think I did. Travis forwarded me an email, and I've got this much information.
So
on it.
all of them, from CDOT, from planning, everything should be in there.
I didn't see anything about the impact fees, though, on the mileage, so I might not have the whole picture here, but that's okay. I'll take your word for it. 10 miles, 10 miles.
I will, if it's not in here and we scroll through it, I will send it to you,
Okay.
because it is in there.
Okay,
Okay?
I guess. I'm pretty sure I know what to do. That was why I came, so. I'm gonna
Yep.
go see about some land and go then look
We
at
need
some
to, we
engineering.
need to get
Get a
to
scope of work
an
developed and-
RFP, yep,
Yeah,
scope of
okay.
work and get it going.
In the-
Hopefully then work with.
In the meantime, we
CDOT.
still have a budget to go through that's got 800 and almost $900,000 earmarked for this project. So how does that affect the other work you want me to do when we pull those reserves down? So,
It should,
well-
if we use impact fees, it shouldn't
I
touch
don't
your
think there's $1
reserves
million
at
worth
all.
of impact fees there, but we'll,
I think there's more than that,
is there?
yeah,
I thought the whole impact fee, okay, maybe there is.
yeah.
I-
The last
there-
time we looked the other day, there was about 1.2 million
And that corridor down through there?
in a
Wow.
10-mile radius
Oh, yeah.
of impact fees.
See, that's about from Dove Creek to Mancos.
10-mile radius.
I got you.
Got it?
Got
And
it.
I'll send that to you. You don't have that on that thread, Travis? Okay. Well, I will get it to you immediately, Rob.
All right, thank you.
And just to go back to answer Commissioner Lindsay's question, there aren't any specific grants that I can think of offhand, but we can certainly look. A lot of the transportation funding is going to be, particularly engineering type funding, is going to be focused on creating multimodal ways, which I don't know that this would specifically qualify for. But we can look a little bit and see if there is some engineering funding potentially out there. The other thing is that it sounds like this project is moving relatively quickly, and that the grant process would obviously slow that down. If we're looking for engineering funding, you'd have to be meeting whatever the grant cycles would be, which would probably be either winter or spring, and then if the plan was to get the engineering done over by February, like Commissioner Candelaria said earlier, I don't know, I think we probably are past those deadlines already. But we can always look and see what's out there.
And just to grasp at a straw, I mean, you've got the Anasazi Heritage Center across the road. Do you think we could tap historic funds?
Well, that was one of the things I was going to say. Looking over there, there are there's the Heritage Center, there's also potentially access to BOR stuff at McPhee is right nearby. So there are some like multi-users there that could potentially tie in, that could open up some avenues, but I would just have to do some research and we'll see what we can find.
BOR and maybe even Forest Service. Of course, Forest Service claims they don't have any money.
Yes.
So does the BOR
Yeah.
and Bureau of Land Commission. The other option was to run it down T.5 and 27, and I think you'd have a political
I
catastrophic
Yeah.
event.
don't,
with
that's
Yeah.
you're cutting off an entire,
Well, you're paving a road down through a private subdivision, not a private subdivision, a public subdivision that would just, traffic would go through the roof on, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think that's a viable option either.
I actually looked at that and I didn't
Yeah, me too.
I didn't even want to think about that
Scary
kind of
on
a
that one.
proposal. That would be,
No, the best idea is what they mentioned was tie into the Heritage Center. If we can make that work, that's the simplest, cleanest, so. Okay, good.
I'll forward it too because I have it on this computer right
Okay.
now.
And then this, we were talking about this fire thing. I just wanted to make a comment that we've seen some of that happen this year with a particular fire on Road M. And a private citizen contracted with a fire department and destroyed a culvert almost and messed up a road. The fire got away from them and the wind, be careful, they'll
Yeah.
hit you. And then who pays for the damage?
Pr-
Of course,
That's,
we went to the landowner, the landowner went to the fire department, the fire department said, well, after you spell money, you're opening up a can of worms, and I go, you signed on to do this, you got hired to do this, now you're a contractor. So where does the liabilities begin and end? Very
The-
tricky questions.
the whole conversation over there took the body of liability
Yeah,
for the whole 4 hours that we were over there, because when you start talking about broadcast burning, it is a totally different creature. And you're messing with Mother Nature, and if you, trust
No,
me. I
It was,
mean,
it was a very classic example of what that gentleman was talking about, when what goes wrong. It did turn into a mess. Fortunately, we got out without losing the road. We were able to fix what we had damaged. But liability from a civil service versus a private contractor, when you start getting paid to do things by private ownership, now you're a contractor. Now the liability just looped right back around and bit you, you know, so.
it's
Good
a,
conversations out there in our world, too. so.
it's a conversation that I'm just really leery
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Just,
How many plastic culverts have been burned up and under the road because the irrigation ditch burning?
They finally quit using them because of it, to be honest with you.
I know.
Yeah, so.
Well, we need
But
to
there was-
protect the
there
one we
was
put
several
in
for a
a couple
while.
years ago.
And you know, they felt bad, everybody felt bad. You know, they could have did a fire break, they could have done a lot of things, but the wind whipped up, caught them cattails, and away we went, you know. So, anyway, things happen.
I would just, I mean, if it was personally up to me, we put fires out, or we were trained to put fires out, not start them.
That's what I said, you guys had to match, for heaven's sakes.
No, we didn't.
No,
They did.
But this group did, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay.
Scary.
Good.
That's good.
And again, if I was gonna burn 1,000-yard pile, I'd be calling you with dozers about a week up front and making sure that I
That's
had.
kind of what my point was too. Why didn't you guys put a dozer in there and make a fire line or something before you lit the fire?
There's ways to take care of it, but
Or work with all the entities, which they
It's-
will now. I mean,
it's also resources.
we could have told them there's a
Yeah.
plastic culvert in there, please stay back, you know, so,
Availability of resources.
right? It was a well-planned burn. Trust me, they did everything by the book. It just, they forgot the wind, or the wind got up and got them in trouble, and that's where we ended up, so.
Always does,
Always does, yeah.
always does.
All right.
What was the favorite dispatch? Controlled burn out of control?
Yeah. It's not controlled anymore.
They don't say that no more. They say prescribed, I believe.
No,
Yeah,
they still
it-
say control.
It's
here.
out of control.
All right, see ya.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, next up, we have an organization chart for social services. Ms. Hargraves, come on down because we have you for the next 3.
Dang, look at that.
It's a little bigger than that, but I'm ready for them.
You know, you're gonna have to bigger font, you know, it just.
This is under age 50 printing.
That's not the title of it. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
think
I know,
it
it's really
says-
small. I need to break it out into different divisions with multiple pages, but today, that's what we have. So this organizational chart is very similar to the one that's already in existence. There's a couple shifts. One addition is a child support services and fraud supervisor. And that staff member would supervise 4 people. So it would be an additional 1 FTE. And then we move over to senior services and transit manager. And so to restructure and to do some cost savings, we would have day-to-day site supervisors, so somebody running day-to-day operations at both sites, and eliminate the need for a full-time director at both sites or splitting their time. And then all the rest is the same as it's always been. With a senior services program manager and a transit manager on site, there's a cost savings of $40,000 from each, 20 from each of those budgets individually. But this, in essence, merges the department and puts MOCO and senior services within it, as well as an additional supervisor. Because right now, I provide 100% of the supervision to fraud and to the child support services unit. The impact to Montezuma County's budget with this, with an additional 1 FTE, is about $30,000 county-only dollars, and that's a high estimate.
Questions, gentlemen?
No,
Travis, have anything else you want to add?
The 30,000, that comes out of the 80/20.
Yep,
Yeah.
so we would put that, we always bill our child support services 80/20 where we can. So we don't mitigate it over to the 66/34 because we can put it in 80/20 and get 80% reimbursement. So yes.
Okay. All right. If that's all we have on that, then we can talk about the senior service and transportation budgets, which are on the next page for us.
So I think the key piece is that 19,000 right there, you can see it in red. That's the cost savings and salaries, given the projected estimates that I wanted to shift. And then if we scroll down to page 2, which is really actually the pretty crucial page, there was 3 additional grants in the revenue section here. Those grants have not been applied for, and we do not have letters of award for. So I have removed them from the budget.
What was that amount?
Okay.
Do you know?
One was for 47,000 from Next 50. One was 15,000. I don't recall where it was from. And the other 2, one was like $916, said food, and another one was about $3,500. And I think it was like the city of Dolores.
Cortez.
City of Cortez, thank you. And so I think the key piece for this is knowing that the revenue is down, which in total puts this budget in the red, 54,000. In doing some of the math and some of the cost-saving figures, I looked at the food, I looked at the number of meals we're serving annually. Based on the number of meals going out the door and our food budget, we're paying $2.72 a meal. That's pretty reasonable. And so, I think that there needs to be further investigation over time into what's going into the operating line item, for instance. I know for transit, on the flip side, we put our feasibility study in the operating line item, and that was grant funded, so it really shouldn't have come out of that line item. We should move it to a grant fund line item. But this is the overall today for next year, without those grants that have not been applied for, and we do not have letters of award for.
Can we reapply for those grants? Or are they just gone for this year?
So,
Because this fiscal year just started, right? Well,
not for you, I mean.
I know, but for
So we're
for
8 months
AAA,
into
right? July?
2024's. I think there's some opportunity for us to apply for some grants. I think that the city of Cortez opens in October. I know Onward has a grant opportunity in October. I know I can meet with potentially the Lore Foundation. The Next 50 has a really strict set of standards for what they will and won't fund. I'm not sure that we fit into that just yet, but I'm 10 days in, so I need a bit more time to figure out those specific needs. You know, I have a meeting next week where we could talk about billing Medicaid for case management services, which could be a funding revenue, probably not today or tomorrow, but down the pike for those that we're serving through senior services, because some of that is case management, right? We're helping them navigate different benefits. I have a meeting on Thursday on that topic. So I think there's some opportunities, but I certainly wanted this budget to reflect actuals versus any projected, because we don't have award letters, and we haven't even applied for them.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly. So there was the one grant was 47,000, 48,000?
47.
It was due in July, so we have to wait until their next fiscal cycle to apply.
Yeah, they have multiple grant opportunities on that website. I also know the Daniels Fund has some opportunities specifically around recreational activities and how we can support our aging population remaining in their home. I think that we could apply for some of those. I'm fairly confident in those, but it's applying and getting, and today at this time, I don't want to include revenue that
Right.
I mean,
You can't.
yeah.
You know, Kelly, this is the best breakdown I've seen in a long time. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think we've, well, never mind. Never mind. Thank you.
Our transportation budget, you know, that includes additional drivers that we still haven't hired that we're seeking. So even today, you know, those expenses are in there, but it might be much less going into next year. I think the really crucial piece is all of the revenue is confirmed revenue. We did pass our Medicaid inspection last Wednesday. Medicaid came down and inspected all of our vehicles. We passed that, so we'll continue to bill Medicaid for some of our rides as we move through the year. And so with transportation ending budget, we will be 56 in the positive after the fiscal year for next year's budget. That doesn't include anything capital besides bike racks, but I think that's in this year's budget to hopefully be spent down, is my understanding. And it'd be nice to get wraps on all of the vehicles.
How many do we have left for wraps? Because I thought we were told.
One had a wrap, and that was the one that was in a car accident. And so all of the remainder need wraps. We have to have something that distinguishes our vehicles. So when Medicaid was down, we hurried up and Alex and I ordered some of the magnets to stick on the vehicles. If we didn't have it ordered, they were going to ding us for it. And so we got them ordered and got it counted, but we have to have labels so that people know our vehicles. And I think ideally it would be a wrap. It's the best scenario.
Is there anybody local can do those wraps?
Yep, I did
Okay.
get, Shane provided Alex a local guy who can do the wraps.
Okay.
So I'll plan to get estimates from him in the coming weeks.
I think we were told last time that the wraps were being done in Colorado Springs or Denver, right?
So on our new vehicle, and our last new vehicle, that's where it was done, and the other vehicle that we'll get, hopefully at the end of this year, that will be done in Colorado Springs before it gets here.
Yeah.
But
Right.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
Yes.
for taking this special project on.
yes.
Appreciate it.
And then last but not least, leadership development. So over the course of the last 14 months, I have a leadership team. This is all of the division supervisors / managers. We meet bi-weekly. We talk all things staff. And as you all know, leadership's hard. It's hard when you're new. It's hard when tough things happen. It's hard to have crucial conversations when it's needed. And so it has come up as a ongoing area that we could use additional supports. And so this is a proposal from RIP Leadership. I was at the Child Support Services Conference in Black Hawk, I don't even know when, recently. I've slept since then. But Mara did a presentation using some of the Brene Brown leadership modules. It was quite good. I have since spent some time talking to her, talking about new leaders and a shift in culture where we're really practicing transparency and trust, and doing that hand in hand so our organization gets what we need as well as our staff get what we need, and it's a delicate balance. So this is a proposal for 1 year of services to provide on-site modules for the leadership team, and then individual sessions throughout the course of that year, and then wrapping up in August of 2025. That will give the opportunity for each member of the leadership team to get some individual coaching and really hone in on their own leadership style, their leadership values, and how they will move forward, having hard conversations sometimes, and coming from a place where we're coaching. I think the best supervision is when we're coaching and pulling out all the great skills that our team already has. They just need some help pulling them out. It is expensive. My intention is to use the Rocky Mountain Health Plan funding that Gina got in 2022. We still have $27,000 there. It can be used for staff development, and I'd like to use $20,000 for this, for the next year.
I mean, you have that funding, you have it available, it's permissible to use it for that. I don't have any issues with it all, training or staff. I think we all probably lack specific and specialized training for what you all do, so, I mean, $20,000 in the big picture is not, it's not really
No.
that expensive.
No, and it's so crucial. I think it's just really critical. Supervisors really need to feel confident too and build their skills, and it can be really deflating in lots of ways. And so I really think it's a crucial link.
It's there, the funding's there, it's something they got,
Yeah.
so I have no issues with that. If that's coming as a formal request,
I
obviously
figured
we
because the
can't-
bill was so high, we should probably talk about it. So when you see it on the warrants, you weren't like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
That's it.
questions?
Thank you very much.
Comments?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, have a great day.
You too.
Let's see,
I am not on the agenda tomorrow, but we should be on the agenda to approve financials, right?
correct. You are not, but the financials are on there.
Okay.
For
Just wanted to
tomorrow.
double check.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Because we have to do that monthly anyway.
No, we can do it bi-monthly. I mean,
I'd rather do it monthly.
me too. This is all
Yep.
in a groove.
All right, see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
CDPHE talking about a grant, Mr. Dobry.
That's a big one.
Okay, these are two interconnected grants from Colorado Department of Health and Environment. One is the Prevention Block Grant, and one is the Prevention Block Grant Rapid Funding. The Prevention Block Grant, the first one, is for $50,000. That funds a portion of the public health planner's salary, as well as contractual support for the community health assessment, implementation, and then indirect costs associated with those costs. So that's the $50,000 total. And then the second one is the Prevention Block Grant Rapid Funding, and that one is for $2,532.47, and that is funding, it's basically outreach associated with the community health assessment plan, and it's reimbursing for staff time for that outreach associated with the RISE suicide awareness walk. And if you had any other questions,
No, I don't.
That's just for an awareness walk? A walk,
it's the,
right?
well, there's the walk, but there's the staffing time for tabling
Right.
it and preparing and all that, yeah.
And getting everything
But
put
what
together
what
for
they,
the
what the
walk.
health department is doing through that event is getting, getting information there about the community health assessment plan out to the community, because that's gonna be a good point of contact for that. Yeah. That's all.
Right. Question? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Pretty straightforward.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, last but not least, Mr. Dietrich, I hope you have good news for us today. That didn't sound good. All right, turn that mic on.
Okay, well, gentlemen, we are closing in on the end of this Phreatophyte project here. Okay, what you're looking at right now is the map that we got from NRCS, and this kind of defines the entire parameters of that project. So it's 3 distinct polygons, and within those 3 distinct polygons, there are smaller polygons, project area polygons. So we have worked through, if you scroll back up for a second there, Travis, that top one that says 7.9 acres, that one's completely done. The next one down below it's completely done. And then the ones that we're having the most difficulty with are that third one. It's that large one, which is 131.8 acres. We can scroll down to the next slide. We can see here where we're having the most difficulty. And that portion that's shaded in green, it works out to be just about 20 acres. And those are the areas that we just cannot find the access to get over to do complete the treatment on those. There's a little tiny dab right down there at the very bottom of it, and that's about 2.5 acres. But the big portion of it is the 18 acres that are in kind of that central part of that polygon. Essentially what it is it's the stuff that's on the south side of the creek. And the way that creek meanders through there, as you all know, you've been down there, there's this place where that creek comes up next to that cut embankment, and it may be a 40-foot drop to be able to get down in there. So it's just unreachable with the equipment that we've got. So that's what we have remaining in terms of the work that we still have to do down there, according to the contract that we were in. What it equals out to be is about 14.2% of the property that is just unreachable with the equipment we've got. That translates into about $22,847. So that would be the portion that we would have difficulty being able to recoup our cost on it. They pay by the acre. I did talk to them about burning that out. That was a good idea, but they don't pay for any of the burn. So it had to be the mechanical treatment in association with the spraying. So yeah, it just wouldn't accomplish a whole lot for us in terms of the dollars. Plus, there's a lot of liability associated with that if we went down and burned. The way this project's going, we burn down half a can of them probably, and still not kill those tamarisks is what I'm really afraid of that. So I'm a little bit worried about the equipment we have down there too. James has been working around that tail end of it, trying to get every acre we can possibly get. He's pushing that equipment as far as it can go. He had an instance the other day where he tracked out there on a little sliver of land to try to reach some of the other stuff. Anyway, that land started to subside right there. He got a big crack. He walked that equipment back out of there as fast as he could, because if we lose that equipment, get it profoundly stuck down there, it's going to be really hard to get that equipment back out, and especially if you lose fuel or something like that. So a lot of liability. So anyway, I'm just crossing my fingers we have nothing happen until Wednesday. Wednesday is James's last day. If we go through you've got the cost estimates up there. If we go through the end of August, we've spent the project down to $157,183. The original grant was $160,000. So that leaves us with $2,816. And I've kept that in reserve because we also realized that we paid somebody to haul that equipment down there. We'll probably have to pay somebody to bring it out, unless we could talk, perhaps Rob would be willing to work with us on that. But that is the remaining dollar amount that we have left, $2,816. So, and James should be done on Wednesday. I do want to point one other thing out about this project. We were able to use the work that we're doing on this project to offset that WaterSmart grant. So we were able to retrieve $42,000 from that WaterSmart grant, which we couldn't have got back if we hadn't included some of this project work in that. We had to do a little creative reporting on that and ask basically to have this portion of the project be countable towards that WaterSmart grant, and they said, okay, we'll do that because it's in the same watershed. Initially it was really supposed to be a Hartman draw on that, so I feel like we got a pretty good deal out of it. We asked, and they went for it, and we got that grant closed out. So I guess my message is that probably gets us about as close to the break-even point as we're likely to get with this project and what we've been facing. So that's where we're at.
So you're saying break even?
No.
I mean, that's
No,
not what you're saying. I mean,
No, I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm just saying this project helped us get $42,000 back that we probably couldn't have gotten if we hadn't included this as part of that grant request. So the reporting on that grant.
right.
So.
But the whole project here is 160,000, and we're 20%
Correct.
not complete with the project. So we're still going to have to fund it.
That's correct.
For
Yeah.
22,000.
We just won't get that.
22,000.
Huh?
That's
22,000.
Yeah, 22.
that's what I'm seeing.
That's correct. We won't get that money back.
Contract we
So
had
we are.
Yeah.
And get our machines out of there as quick as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Get them out of
that's the
there,
plan.
get them home, and let's never talk about this again.
Yep. Sounds like a good plan.
Because now we've got $22,000 to come up with somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, thanks for the good news.
Well, sorry about that, but
You know, it's kind of amazing because I drove across the state of Colorado this week, and I just casually made observations from here all the way to Meeker and then to the Front Range and then back. We're not making any amount of difference at all throughout the state of Colorado. This is, yeah, we need to focus on piping the water and being conservative that way so that we don't have the leakage that this, anyway, I'll just stop.
well,
Those are
yeah,
permanent
I think
things.
our,
You, just like taking all these out down there, how long do you think it's gonna be before they come back? Unless that landowner is really
5 years?
diligent about keeping
3
it out of
years?
there, it's gonna be right back.
Yeah.
At least if we're doing
Pipe.
pipe and
It's permanent.
infrastructure improvements, that's gonna be good for 50 years.
Yeah, it dries up
Not
those
bad.
drainages, those things don't,
They will die
They
on
will
their own.
die.
This is,
Yeah.
get our equipment out of there as soon as possible. We're
Sounds good.
done.
yeah, we'll do that. And I think you're on the right track with the piping. That will help.
If we can convince Congress to put that money in there.
Yeah.
You know, it gets to a certain point and then the money quits.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to these companies that are managing those ditches where it should be.
Well, we have a town hall Wednesday night that we can ask this question.
Yes,
Actually, what Danny was talking about Southwest and the water deal,
yeah.
that's why Southwest is trying to handle it, so we can put it, they can put it in a big enough project that it could get funded, because all of those projects that they're talking about there, they're talking about millions of dollars, not
Oh, yeah.
300,000. That they're talking about millions of dollars, and if we can get a big enough package of it together and have local control over it, then we can do things that's gonna make improvement for years and years to come, not just.
Yeah, I'd like to have an overall picture of this, and then we look at it in 5 years, and I would agree with Commissioner Copenhaver, it'll be right back to what it was.
Yeah.
Because that drainage is not dry, it's gonna continue.
Yeah. Well, I have that fear too, and really dealing with these phreatophytes strategically, we need to be starting at the upper ends of our watersheds and working our way down, because
Right.
all those big trees at the upper end are throwing seeds out like crazy right now, and of course our irrigation system is the vector that puts them,
Everywhere.
out where we don't want them. So
Some districts have tried insects,
Uh-huh.
but they're coming back.
yeah,
Well,
Well, the
next time you drive across the
insects
state
only
of
will go up
Colorado,
to a certain
just look.
elevation.
yeah. I certainly
And
have,
they
and actually
only
I've been in
kill about
conversation with other
90%.
weed
They're
departments
not
out there
gonna
too.
kill off
And
their total food
it's
supply.
a situation across the state.
They're not.
Absolutely.
It's not a solution.
All right, gentlemen, we'll work on getting our equipment back, and I guess we'll just have it delivered up there to the road department.
so in the
we'll-
place we have to store it right now, so then
Yeah.
we can deal with it at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
Thanks, James.
yep.
All right, thank you, sir.
Bet.
Let's see, I guess anything else we need to discuss? If not, I think we're done. All right, gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Bye.